The thumbnail gets you every time. Guy in front of a house, arms crossed, confident smile. Text that says something like how I made passive income with one rental property or my rental property cash flow after 6 months. You watch it. It makes sense. Buy a property, rent it out. Collect the difference between the rent and the mortgage. Repeat until financially free. The math in the video is clean. The numbers work out. The host seems credible. They own real properties. They show real receipts. They walk you through real spreadsheets. And the core idea isn't wrong. People do build genuine wealth through rental properties. Real estate investing is a legitimate path. But the version on YouTube, the clean math, the passive income framing, the confident thumbnails is missing several chapters that only appear after you've signed the papers and the property is yours. Chapters that change the math significantly. Chapters that redefine what passive means. Chapters that nobody titles. Month 8. The tenant stopped paying and I had to learn what eviction actually costs. Today we go through those chapters. Not to talk you out of rental property investing, but to give you the picture that exists after the thumbnail so that if you do it with accurate expectations rather than the ones YouTube built. The passive income problem. Let's start with the word that defines the entire category: passive. Rental property income is classified as passive income for tax purposes, and that tax classification has infected how people describe the experience of owning rental property, as if the tax category describes the actual labor involved. It doesn't. Talk to anyone who owns rental property, not the YouTube version, not the guy selling a course about rental property, but someone who actually manages one or several units without a full property management infrastructure, and ask them to describe a typical month. The tenant texts at 11 at night about a leak under the sink. You coordinate with a plumber whose earliest availability is Thursday. The tenant texts again Wednesday asking for an update. Thursday, the plumber arrives, fixes the immediate problem, and tells you the pipes throughout the unit are aging and you should expect more of this. The lease renewal comes up. The tenant wants to negotiate the rent increase down. You do the math on vacancy cost versus the negotiated rate and decide to meet them partway. You prepare a new lease. You get it signed. A property tax reassessment arrives. Your taxes are going up 15%. You recalculate the cash flow numbers you used to justify the investment. The HVAC system makes a noise in July. You get it inspected. The technician recommends replacement within the year or risk it failing during peak summer heat, which would require emergency service at emergency rates. None of this is catastrophic. All of it is real. All of it takes time, attention, decision-making, and coordination. None of it is passive. The income that arrives in your account monthly is real. The passivity of that income is a fiction that persists until you own the asset and discover what maintaining it actually requires. The math they show you versus the math that exists. The YouTube spreadsheet typically looks something like this. Purchase price, $300,000. Down payment 20%, $60,000. Mortgage on $240,000 at 7% over 30 years, approximately $1,600 per month. Rent, $2,200 per month. Cash flow, $600 per month. Annual cash flow, $7,200. Return on the $60,000 down payment, 12%. Clean, compelling, the kind of math that makes you want to start looking at listings. Now let's add the variables that didn't make the spreadsheet. Vacancy. Properties are not 100% occupied, tenants leave. Finding new tenants takes time, showing the property, screening applications, waiting for the right tenant rather than the desperate one. Industry average vacancy runs between 5 and 10% annually. On a $2,200 monthly rent, 5% vacancy is $1,320 per year. 10% is $2,640. That comes directly off your cash flow. Property management. The YouTube math often assumes self-management. If you hire a property manager, which most people eventually do, or should the standard fee is 8 to 12% of monthly rent. On $2,200, that's $176 to $264 per month. Between $2,100 and $3,168 per year. Gone from the cash flow. Maintenance and repairs. The 1 to 2% of property value rule applies here as it did for your primary residence. On a $300,000 property, that's $3,000 to $6,000 annually. Not smoothly distributed years of relative quiet interrupted by years of significant expense. Capital expenditures. Beyond routine maintenance, every property has systems that eventually require full replacement: roof, HVAC, water, heater, appliances, windows, flooring. These are not maintenance costs, they're capital expenditures. And they're larger. A roof replacement on a single-family home, $15,000 to $25,000. An HVAC system, $5,000 to $10,000. These need to be amortized into your annual cost calculation even if they don't occur every year. Insurance. Landlord insurance, which is different from homeowners insurance and necessary, costs more. Typically 15 to 25% above standard homeowners coverage. Accounting and legal. Rental property tax returns are more complex than personal returns. If you're doing it yourself, that's time. If you're paying a professional, that's money, typically several $100s annually at minimum. Now rebuild the spreadsheet. Gross rent, $2,200 monthly, $26,400 annually. Vacancy at 7%, minus $1,848. Property management at 10%, minus $2,640. Maintenance at 1.5% of value, minus $4,500. Capital expenditure reserve, minus $2,000. Landlord insurance premium above standard, minus $500. Accounting, minus $400. Total deductions from gross rent, approximately $11,888. Adjusted net operating income before mortgage, $14,512 annually. Mortgage payments, approximately $19,200 annually. Net cash flow after all expenses and mortgage, negative $4,688 per year. The property that looked like a $600 per month positive cash flow is actually a negative $390 per month proposition when the real costs are included. This is not a worst-case scenario. This is the median realistic scenario for a rental property purchased at current prices in most markets. The leverage argument and its real risks. The most sophisticated version of the rental property thesis involves leverage, the ability to control a large asset with a relatively small down payment, amplifying returns when the asset appreciates. This argument is real. Leverage does amplify returns in appreciating markets. It also amplifies losses in declining ones. A 20% down payment means you control 100% of the asset with 20% of the capital. If the property appreciates 10%, your return on the down payment is 50%. This is the leverage argument. If the property declines 10%, not impossible, not historically unusual in specific markets and periods, you've lost 50% of your down payment on paper. And unlike a stock portfolio decline, you cannot simply hold and wait without obligation. The mortgage continues. The property taxes continue. The maintenance continues. The tenants expect habitable conditions regardless of what the market has done to the property's value. Leverage in real estate creates specific risks that equity investing doesn't have. The requirement to service debt regardless of asset performance. The illiquidity that prevents exit at a bad moment without realizing the loss. And the concentration that comes from having a large portion of net worth in a single asset in a single location. A stock market decline of 20% is painful across a diversified portfolio. A real estate market decline of 20% in the city where your rental property is located is a specific, concentrated loss that you cannot diversify away. The leverage argument is not wrong. It requires acknowledging what leverage actually does in both directions. When rental property actually makes sense. There are conditions under which rental property investing is genuinely compelling. They're just more specific than YouTube suggests. You have access to deals below market value through distressed sellers, relationships, specific expertise in identifying undervalued properties, something that creates an entry price advantage that makes the math work where it otherwise wouldn't. You have genuine handyman capability. The single largest variable cost in rental property is maintenance and repair. An owner who can handle a significant portion of routine maintenance personally changes the economics substantially. If you genuinely cannot fix things yourself, you're paying market rate for every repair. You're buying in a market with strong rental demand and reasonable price-to-rent ratios. The math of rental property investing varies enormously by market. In some markets, purchase prices relative to rents create viable cash flow. In many high-cost markets, they don't, and no amount of operational efficiency makes the numbers work. You have the capital reserves to absorb the bad years. Rental property investing with a thin capital buffer is precarious in a way that stock investing is not. A 6-month vacancy plus a major repair in the same year can produce a financial crisis for an undercapitalized landlord that wouldn't affect a well-capitalized one at all. You treat it as a business from day one. Systems, documentation, professional relationships with contractors and property managers, clear-eyed accounting, realistic performance evaluation. The investors who do well in rental property are the ones who operate it like a business rather than a passive investment that manages itself. Closing. The thumbnail lead, not maliciously, not even consciously. It showed the version that makes the video watchable, shareable, compelling. The version where the math is clean and the passive income is real, and the path from here to financial freedom runs through a well-chosen single-family home in a growing market. That version exists, somewhere, at some price point, in some market, with some landlords. But the full version, the evictions and the vacancy and the 11 p.m. maintenance texts and the capital expenditure reserves and the negative cash flow in year 3 when the roof and the water heater and a difficult tenant all arrive in the same 12 months, that version doesn't fit in a thumbnail. Rental property investing can work. People build real wealth through it. The leverage, the appreciation, the tax advantages, the eventual paid-off asset-generating income in retirement, the long-term case is legitimate. But the short-term reality is a business, with all the complexity, labor, risk, and occasional misery that running a small business involves. Know that going in. Price your time honestly. Build your reserves adequately. Understand your market specifically. Learn the landlord-tenant law in your jurisdiction before you need it. Find a good accountant and a good plumber and treat both relationships with the seriousness they deserve. And when you see the next thumbnail, the guy with crossed arms in front of the house, the clean spreadsheet, the passive income promise, remember that what you're seeing is chapter 1 of a much longer story. The rest of the chapters are where the real education happens, and the tuition is paid in experience that no YouTube video can give you in advance.